The breaking point. The Grand Hall of Unity sparkled under the light of 3 artificial suns. 2,000 delegates from across the galaxy sat in curved rows that rose like waves around the central speaking platform. The hall had been designed to inspire awe. Its ceiling a perfect replica of the galactic core, its walls lined with the flags of 500 member species. For 3 centuries, it had been the heart of interstellar politics, trade, and diplomacy. Commander Elena Reyes stood at the center of it all, her posture military straight despite her exhaustion. The simple Navy uniform of Earth's diplomatic corps looked plain among the elaborate costumes of the alien delegates, but the 6 medals on her chest spoke of decades of service to galactic peace. The small blue and green Earth insignia on her collar caught the light as she took a deep breath. Esteemed delegates of the Galactic Council, she began, her voice steady and clear. For 327 years, humanity has served as peacekeepers, mediators, and healers throughout Council space. We've stabilized your economies, defended your borders, and shared our medical advancements freely. The Voshek ambassador, a gelatinous being whose translucent body rippled with bioluminescent patterns, leaned forward. And the Council has provided humans with technology and access to resources beyond your system, Commander. The arrangement has been mutually beneficial. Elena smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Has it? In the past Earth decade, humans have been denied expansion rights to 17 promising systems. Meanwhile, the Voshek Collective has been granted rights to 12 of those same systems. Murmurs spread through the hall. The Zentari representative, an avian being with iridescent feathers and 6 eyes, fluttered its wing arms. The Council votes based on careful analysis of each species' needs. Then explain, Elena cut in, sliding a data crystal into the podium that projected a holographic star map. Why human medical stations receive 40% less funding than any other species projects while providing 60% of all emergency care in the Outer Rim. High Counselor Drev, an ancient Medusan with skin like polished obsidian and eyes that glowed white, raised all 4 of his hands. Commander Reyes, if Earth has concerns about resource allocation, we can form a committee to review. With respect, High Counselor, Elena said, her voice hardening. Earth has participated in 73 review committees in the past decade. The result is always the same, promises of change that never materialize. She touched another control, and the hologram shifted to show ships in combat. 3 days ago, the Council approved the Tarjan fleet's aggressive peacekeeping mission into the Nixian cluster, territory that was promised to Earth colonies 20 years ago. The Council chamber grew silent. Even the typically chatty Mirax delegates, whose multiple mouths rarely stopped moving, went still. Earth has been patient, Elena continued. We've been diplomatic. We've been the backbone of this council while being treated as second-class members. That ends today. She reached into her pocket and removed a small platinum disc emblazoned with Earth's flag, the official seal of Earth's government. Placing it on the podium, she activated it. A holographic projection of President Quan appeared, flanked by the leaders of Earth's 50 colonies. By unanimous vote of Earth and all its colonies, President Quan's recorded image announced, "We hereby withdraw from the Galactic Council, effective immediately." The chamber erupted. Delegates leaped to their feet, some shouting questions, others making threats. A few simply stared in shock, their alien features contorted in disbelief. High Counselor Drev pushed through the crowd to reach Elena. Commander, you cannot do this. The human fleets protect our trade routes. Your engineers maintain the jump gates. Your financial experts stabilize our economy. Elena nodded. Yes, we do all those things, and we asked for little in return except fair treatment and respect. We did not receive it. This is too hasty, insisted Drev, his white eyes flaring brighter in agitation. We can form an emergency committee to address Earth's concerns immediately. Our decision is final, Elena said. All human peacekeeping forces will withdraw from Council space within 40 days. Our medical personnel will ensure patient care is transferred smoothly. Our engineers will provide transition protocols for jump gate maintenance. The Voshek ambassador's body had turned a deep crimson, a sign of extreme alarm. The Keldari Empire will attack the moment your ships leave the outer rim. They'd been held back only by fear of human military response. Elena turned to face the terrified ambassador. "Perhaps," she said quietly. "That is no longer our concern." As if on cue, the doors to the chamber opened. 116 human delegates walked in, the men and women who had served on council committees and diplomatic missions for years. Their faces showed varying emotions. Some looked relieved, others determined. A few seemed to carry the weight of centuries. "Humanity is going home," Elena announced. "We will defend our territories and our people. The rest of the galaxy is now your responsibility." She turned to leave. High Counselor Drev moved to block her path, his obsidian features twisted in desperation. "Please, Commander. The Council needs humanity." Elena paused and looked back at the sea of alien faces, some angry, some calculating, many afraid. "No," she said simply. "You needed what we provide, not who we are. There's a difference. Goodbye." The human delegation walked out, their footsteps echoing in the suddenly silent chamber. Through the vast windows of the hall, the delegates could see the sleek shapes of Earth ships preparing to depart Station Unity. The age of human protection was over. The age of consequence was about to begin. In the weeks that followed, the galaxy held its breath. Captain Maya Okafor stood on the bridge of the EDF Sentinel, watching her crew dismantle the defense systems they had maintained around the Pleiades trade junction for 27 years. "Final power nodes disconnected," reported Lieutenant Singh. "Defense grid is offline." Maya nodded, feeling a strange mixture of sorrow and relief. The Pleiades junction connected 16 major trade routes. For decades, human ships had kept pirates and raiders at bay while asking only for minimal docking fees in return. Her communication officer looked up from his station. "Captain, I'm receiving distress calls from 14 merchant vessels in nearby sectors. They're reporting Keldari raiders approaching. Any non-human military responses?" Maya asked, already knowing the answer. "None, Captain. The Zentari defense fleet is still in their home system." Maya closed her eyes briefly. "Send them our regrets, but inform them that as of 600 hours, Pleiades Junction is no longer under human protection. Then set course for Earth. Maximum speed." As the Sentinel prepared to jump, Maya watched the sensor readings of the approaching Keldari ships. The savage empire had been contained for generations by the mere presence of human vessels. Now they were about to learn what the galaxy looked like without humanity's shield. On Earth, in the headquarters of the Diplomatic Corps in New Geneva, Director Thomas Chen reviewed the latest reports with President Quan. 70% of our forces have already returned to Earth space," he said, gesturing to the holographic display. "The remaining ships are escorting our medical personnel and engineers as they complete their handovers." President Quan, a woman whose gray hair and lined face spoke of decades in politics, nodded. "And the Council's response?" "Exactly as predicted. 6 formal appeals so far. They've offered increased voting power, control of the Nixian cluster, even a permanent seat on the High Council." "And the economic impact?" Thomas brought up a new display. "The Galactic credit has dropped 30% against Earth's currency. Trade volume is down 45% in Council space. 3 minor conflicts have already broken out along the former peacekeeping zones." The president stood and walked to the window. Outside, returning ships filled the sky as Earth's defense forces came home for the first time in centuries. "How long until they come to us with real negotiating power?" she asked. Thomas consulted his data. The Zentari and Mirax delegations are already on their way. They'll arrive within the week. The High Council itself is preparing a delegation, led by Drev himself. The president smiled faintly. 300 years we gave them. 300 years of human blood and sweat maintaining their peace while they treated us as servants. Perhaps now they'll understand our value. And if they don't? Thomas asked. President Kwan turned from the window, her eyes hard with resolution. Then humanity will stand alone, as we did before we reached the stars. We survived then. We'll survive now. But this time, we'll put ourselves first. On the border world of Harmony, Dr. Elijah Waters watched as another refugee ship landed. The small colony had become a reluctant way station for species, fleeing the expanding Kelduri raids. How many aboard? He asked his assistant, a young medical officer named Sato. About 3,000 Centauri, Sato replied. Their outer colony was hit yesterday. They had evacuation ships ready. Elijah nodded and prepared his medical team. As the refugees disembarked, he saw the familiar signs of trauma: injuries poorly treated, children with vacant stares, adults with trembling limbs. A tall Centauri approached him, her feathers dull and some broken, a sign of extreme stress in her species. "You are human," she said, her translator making her voice sound metallic. "I thought humans abandoned the council." "Earth left the council," Elijah corrected gently. "I'm just a doctor. This isn't an official Earth mission." The Centauri's 6 eyes blinked in confusion. "But you help us still." "I took an oath to heal," Elijah said simply. "Politics doesn't change that." "When will Earth send ships to stop the Kelduri?" the Centauri asked, hope flickering in her voice. Elijah looked away. "Earth isn't sending ships. That's not our responsibility anymore. But your kind are still the strongest military force in the galaxy. And for 3 centuries, we used that strength to protect everyone but ourselves," Elijah replied, guiding her toward the medical tents. "Now we're looking after our own first." As they walked through the refugee camp where 6 different species now lived side by side in makeshift shelters, Elijah's communicator buzzed. It was a secure channel from Earth Command. "Dr. Waters," came the voice of Admiral Hassan. "Your humanitarian mission on Harmony has come to the Council's attention. President Kwan requests your presence at the upcoming negotiations. It seems your unauthorized aid efforts have made quite an impression." Elijah looked around at the refugees, people who had counted on human protection for generations and now found themselves adrift. "Tell the president I'll be there," he said, "but I have conditions of my own to add to our negotiations." As he disconnected, Elijah wondered if this small act of human compassion might become the bridge that connected Earth back to the stars. But this time, on humanity's terms. The power of absence. 6 months after Earth's withdrawal, the galaxy was learning harsh lessons about dependency. Archmage Linth stood in the ruins of what had once been the Centauri's most prosperous trading outpost. The prefabricated buildings lay in smoldering heaps, their metallic components twisted into unrecognizable shapes. Scorch marks from Kelduri disruptors scared the landing pads where merchant ships once docked by the hundreds. "4th attack this month," said his aide, a younger Centauri whose feathers had never known the vibrancy of peacetime. The defensive systems the humans left behind held for almost an hour this time. Linth made a bitter trilling sound. An hour. When human ships protected this route, the Kelduri wouldn't dare approach within a light year. The communicator at his belt chimed with the distinctive tone of a council priority message. Linth activated it, and a holographic image of High Counselor Drev appeared, looking more haggard than any Medusan Linth had ever seen. "The emergency session begins in 6 hours, Drev said without preamble. "Earth has finally agreed to hear our proposal." "And what are we offering them?" Linth asked, already suspecting the answer. "Everything," Drev replied simply. On Earth, the Council delegation was escorted through the gleaming corridors of the Global Unity building in New Geneva. Their path took them past galleries displaying artifacts from human history, remnants of ancient civilizations, technological marvels, and monuments to human perseverance. Dr. Marcus Chen walked alongside the delegation, observing their reactions. As Earth's foremost cynoanthropologist, He had been called in to advise the negotiating team on alien cultural nuances. "Your species has accomplished much in a short time," observed Troll, the Voshek ambassador whose gelatinous form now pulsed with subdued blue patterns. "Necessity is a powerful motivator," Marcus replied. "Humanity spent most of its history facing challenges alone. Perhaps we forgot that lesson during our time with the Council." The delegation was led into a circular chamber where President Quan waited, flanked by Commander Elena Reyes and several other key officials. Large windows offered a view of Earth's orbital shipyards, now bustling with activity as the human fleet underwent rapid expansion and modernization. "Welcome to Earth," President Quan said, her tone formal but not hostile. "We understand you come with a proposal." High Counselor Drev stepped forward, his obsidian skin dull with fatigue. "Madam President, in the 6 months since Earth's withdrawal, the galaxy has fallen into unprecedented crisis. The Keldari Empire has seized 17 systems. The Galactic credit has lost 60% of its value. Trade volume is down 70%. 3 minor species have already gone extinct as their homeworlds fell to invasion with no peacekeepers to defend them. These outcomes were predicted by our analysts," President Quan noted. "They were also predicted by our delegates to the Council for decades, warnings that went unheeded." Drev's white eyes dimmed in acknowledgement. "We were blind to our dependence on human strength. The Council formally offers Earth the following: permanent leadership of the Council's peacekeeping division with full autonomy, unrestricted colonization rights in the Nixian cluster and Orion Spur, triple voting power on all resource allocation matters, and control of the Galactic Bank." A murmur went through the human officials. These concessions represented everything Earth had sought for centuries. President Quan leaned forward. "And in return to the Council," Drev said simply. "Resume peacekeeping duties. Help us restore order." The President exchanged glances with her advisors. "We will need time to consider your proposal." As the delegation was escorted to their quarters, Dr. Marcus Chen found himself walking alongside Ambassador Troll again. "Your species has proven its point quite effectively," the Voshek said, its surface rippling with complex patterns that Marcus recognized as indicating deep thought. "I admit, I never imagined the galaxy would unravel so quickly without human stabilization." "It wasn't about proving a point," Marcus replied. "It was about recognition. For centuries, humans were treated as useful tools rather than equal partners." The ambassador's patterns shifted to indicate curiosity. "Yet I've received reports that humans are still helping throughout the galaxy, unofficially. Doctors running refugee camps, engineers maintaining critical infrastructure, scientists continuing their research at outposts that should be abandoned." Marcus smiled slightly. "That's who we are. Individual humans will always help where they can, but our government must put our species first, just as yours does." "An interesting contradiction," Troll observed. "Not a contradiction," Marcus corrected. "A balance. One the Council never understood." In a secure underground facility beneath New Geneva, Commander Elena Reyes met with the leaders of what had become known as the Shadow Network, an unofficial collective of humans who had remained in Council space to provide humanitarian aid. Dr. Elijah Waters' hologram flickered slightly as the transmission crossed the vast distance from Harmony. "The refugee situation is becoming dire," he reported. "We've got nearly 1 million displaced beings from 17 species. Food supplies are stretched thin." Similar reports from the medical station in the Pleiades Junction, added Dr. Sophia Kim, her hologram showing signs of exhaustion. "Without official Council support, we're running on minimal power and improvised supplies." Elena studied the data streaming in from dozens of similar operations. "You've all violated direct orders by remaining in Council space," she said, though there was no rebuke in her tone. "Yet your efforts have provided us with critical intelligence and maintained a human presence that may prove valuable." "We didn't stay for strategic reasons," Elijah objected. "We stayed because people needed help." "I know," Elena said softly. And that instinct, to help even when there's nothing to gain, is something the Council never understood about us. But now they're beginning to see. She brought up a new holographic display showing the Council's proposal. The official negotiations begin tomorrow. The Council is offering everything we ever asked for, but President Kwan believes we should ask for more. More. Sophia looked skeptical. They're already offering unprecedented concessions. Not more power, Elena clarified. More responsibility. From them. A true partnership rather than a return to the old arrangement with humans doing all the work. The Shadow Network leaders exchanged glances across their various holographic projections. What exactly are you proposing? Elijah asked. Elena smiled. Something revolutionary, and I need your help to make it happen. The next day, as the official negotiations began, the Council delegation found themselves facing not just President Kwan and her advisors, but a wall of holographic projections showing human aid workers throughout Council space. Doctors, engineers, scientists, and educators who had remained behind, despite Earth's official withdrawal. Before we respond to your proposal, President Kwan began. I want you to hear from the humans who chose to stay and help, even after Earth left the Council. One by one, the Shadow Network members spoke, describing the conditions in refugee camps, the struggles to maintain vital infrastructure without proper support, and the suffering caused by the Council's inability to maintain stability without human assistance. High Counselor Drev and the other delegates listened in silence, their alien features showing various signs of discomfort and shame. When the testimonies concluded, President Kwan stood. Your proposal offers Earth power and resources. Essentially, you're asking us to resume our role as the galaxy's protectors and fixers while giving us more compensation for it. That is correct, Drev acknowledged. We recognize your value now. We reject this arrangement, President Kwan said firmly. The alien delegates showed signs of shock and alarm. Instead, she continued, Earth proposes a complete restructuring of the Council itself. No more will a single species, human or otherwise, bear the primary responsibility for galactic peace and stability. She activated a holographic display showing a new organizational structure. We propose a mutual defense accord where all major Council species contribute proportionally to peacekeeping, medical services, and infrastructure maintenance. Training programs where human experts teach your people to maintain their own systems. Collaborative research initiatives rather than humans simply providing solutions. But humans are naturally better suited to many of these roles, the Zentari Archmage objected. Your species' adaptability, innovation, and military prowess. Our resources we're willing to share, President Kwan interrupted, but not to exhaust. Every species in the galaxy must learn to contribute to the common good according to their abilities. Dr. Marcus Chen stepped forward. For too long, the galaxy has used humanity as its shield and salvation while giving little in return. This created not just resentment among humans, but complacency among other species. The chaos of the past 6 months proves that dependency is dangerous for everyone. High Counselor Dreb's white eyes dimmed as he considered. What you propose would require unprecedented cooperation between species that have traditionally competed with each other. Precisely, Elena said. But we've seen it's possible. In the refugee camps and emergency zones where the Shadow Network operates, multiple species are already working together out of necessity. And what of Earth's role in this new arrangement? Ambassador Inkstrahl asked. We'll return to the Council as equal partners, President Kwan said. We'll share our knowledge freely. Our fleets will protect common interests, not serve as the galaxy's sole defenders. And in return, we expect other species to rise to their responsibilities. The Council delegation requested time to confer privately. When they returned hours later, High Counselor Drev approached the negotiating table with a new formality. Earth's proposal is revolutionary, he admitted. It will face resistance from species accustomed to the old ways. Many have grown comfortable with humans handling the difficult tasks. Change is rarely comfortable, President Kwan acknowledged. But it is necessary. The Council accepts your terms, Drev said finally. We will restructure according to your mutual defense accord. But we request the humans lead this transition. Teach us to be the allies you need us to be. President Kwan extended her hand in the human gesture of agreement. After a moment of hesitation, Drev extended all four of his in response. Welcome to a new era of true cooperation, she said. 1 year later, Commander Elena Reyes stood again in the Grand Hall of Unity, now transformed by the reorganization. Where once a single speaking platform had dominated the center, now 5 equal platforms formed a circle, representing the 5 cooperative divisions of the new council structure. Representatives from 27 species were completing a joint training exercise in the new Unified Defense Protocol. Elena watched with pride as human instructors worked alongside increasingly capable alien counterparts. Quite a change from when you last stood here, observed Dr. Marcus Chen, who had been appointed as Earth's ambassador to the new council. The transition hasn't been smooth, Elena admitted. Change never is. But look at them, working together instead of waiting for humans to solve every problem. And the Keldari? Marcus asked. Contained, Elena said with satisfaction. The combined fleets pushed them back to their original borders last month. Turns out Zentari ships have impressive capabilities when they're actually deployed instead of sitting in their home system. As they watched, a group of Voshek engineers demonstrated a new shield technology they had developed by building upon human designs. Nearby, human doctors consulted with Medusan healers on combining their different medical approaches. We gave the galaxy 3 centuries of protection, Marcus reflected. But perhaps what they really needed was this. The chance to protect themselves alongside us. Humanity, stepping back to let others step up, Elena said with a smile. Perhaps our greatest contribution yet. Through the vast windows of the hall, ships from a dozen species patrolled in formation, human vessels no longer alone in their vigilance. The galaxy was learning a new balance, and humanity had found its rightful place. Not above, not below, but alongside the stars. The end.